But anyway, you get the point. So that was fascinating, living in LA, because I've always wanted to live in California. I had family that lived out there. I had a couple of my buddies that lived there. Went to school to UCLA. So it was very exciting to be out there. You know, you're in Hollywood, right? And it wasn't uncommon to go in the supermarket and there's like Mark Wahlberg, you know, or Vanilla Ice or whomever. And you see these people on TV, and then you're actually seeing them in person, and you're going, you're kind of like, whoa. Brings me back to what I was saying earlier, me being a black kid and Sophia that they'd never seen except for on TV. And they're like, there's that shock value, right? And quickly you realize they're just like you. There's no difference. The only difference is a skin tone. That's it. That's all it is. Not a big deal, right? In America, you know, when they're making these movies, you know, you see like, you know, normally like the bad guys, somebody, a minority, all right? Normally the bad guys are a minority. That's not always the case. That's not reality, you know? There's bad people come in different races, different sizes, women, men, teenagers. You know, it doesn't matter. So I guess it just comes down to how you were raised. So don't believe the movies. Don't believe the hype. We're good people. We're educated. You know, we wanted to succeed just like our white counterparts in the United States. And you know, I think for the most part, you know, different races do get along. In the South, you know, back in the civil rights era, it wasn't like that. I could never get in front of you all and talk to you. There's no way. That was a no-no. I mean, they separated, you know, blacks on this side, whites on this side. That's how it was. And we're talking, you know, 50 years ago. I mean, that's not that long ago. So we, as the United States, we're still learning, right? We're still trying to get over that. There's still issues that we're going through. I don't know if any of y'all have seen this on the news in the last couple of months, where there have been some people who have been shot by cops, black young men. What the media does not show you and or talk about is the same thing happens with whites, but they do it in a much smaller town. It happens in smaller towns. Not to say it's right, not to say it's wrong, but it happens. If you're a bad guy and you're coming after the law enforcement, you're breaking the law, well, that can happen. Now, not to say that all these guys are guilty or were guilty, but unfortunately, you know, that's kind of the price you pay. But again, you know, I want to stress that it's not just minorities that get in trouble. I mean, everyone does at one point in their lives. Not so much with the law, but like, you know, you're breaking rules in your house. Your mom tells you, oh, well, you can't go out because you didn't finish your homework. You kind of sneak out, you know. Yeah, we did that as kids. It was great. Let's see. You know, who thought? I never thought. I was telling I was talking at a school not too long ago, and I was telling them that, telling the students that I never thought that I would see a black president. Just bottom line, up front, I didn't think it was going to happen. During my time, maybe like, you know, my kids or grandkids or whatever. And then, you know, pleasantly surprised. And that just goes to show you how, you know, the United States has evolved. Tolerance. So now, you know, I think we're looking at, you know, possibly a female president, you know, or a Latino president, you know. It's going to happen. You know, I can tell you that right now. It's going to happen. So whatever you dream about, whatever you want to become, you can do it, because it takes a lot of hard work and dedication. First time, you have to believe in yourself, all right? Because if you don't, no one else will. becoming a United States diplomat, as a black man, it's difficult just becoming a diplomat, a United States diplomat. But it's a little bit harder being a minority because the pressure, there's a lot more pressure on you. For whatever reason, it is. Even though we go through the same training, interviews, take the same tests, the pressure's a little bit harder on you. And for me, that's something I want to do. There was two things I knew as a kid I was going to do. One, being a United States Marine. I knew I was going to do it as a kid. Where I went to school, I went to grammar school on the college campus. So like the Navy guys and the Marine guys would always walk by, and the girls would run up and be like, ooh, that guy looks really good. And when I saw that, I was like, that's what I'm going to do. So and then I became, after college, went in the Marine Corps, did the Marine Corps for 5 years. Then I got out, and then later on, I became a diplomat. And that was the coolest thing. I mean, to say, hey, I'm a diplomat. And I told my friends that, I would have never have thought that. Here's a snotty-nosed kid from New Orleans, and here I am, flying all over the world. I've traveled with 2 presidents and 2 secretaries. I mean, I would have never thought that. And I've been very lucky. But, again, it starts at having that vision, having a dream. That's what I wanted to do, and I did it. I mean, there's a lot more stuff that I want to do, and hopefully I'll accomplish that. But when you dream, you got to dream big. And don't ever, ever, ever let anyone tell you you can't do what you want, because that's crazy. That's just that other person just being insecure. You can do whatever you want. Put your mind to it, you can do it. I mean, there's plenty of kids that are in high school that come from low-income families, right? And they have a vision. And they may not go to the best colleges, but they still make their way, right? And now you got some of like the top CEOs in the world that succeeded. They came from nothing, but they made something out of themselves. Just because they believe in themselves. And they worked along with other people. I mean, it wasn't just maybe like their parents encouraging, but classmates, their buddies. A lot of my friends encouraged me. A lot of, I have a diverse group of individuals that I hang out with that we're very close to. So we kind of look like the United Nations, right? You got this black kid, a couple of white kids, Spanish, Indians. We're all very tight. And we encourage each other. And, we kind of walk around and, it's like, this is okay. Like, I've dated outside of my race. I think maybe I've probably dated 4 or 5 black women, and I'm a bit older, so I'm not going to tell you exactly how old I am. But anyway, but the fact is to say that it's okay to step outside of your comfort zone. Tolerance, right? There's no such thing as one race is better than the other. We were raised to be colorblind. You don't see it. You shouldn't see it. All right? The only thing that you should see, only thing that you should notice is that that's your colleague, that's your classmate. That actually, number one, that's a human being. He or she has the same feelings that you do, go through the same struggles that you do. So always eliminate someone's race and don't judge anybody by the color of their skin or their religion or their ethnicity. Who cares? That goes out the window. Because if you have that closed-mindedness, you're not going to go very far. I can tell you that right now. We're in the 21st century, and I can tell you, I've been pretty much all around the world. And in most places, it's not tolerated. It, absolutely not at all. So with that said, any questions? I feel like I talked a lot. Might have any questions? I will give you a ruler if you ask me a question. Come on. Really? How about you? Since we already talked earlier. I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
Where did you go to college?
I went to a school called University of New Orleans. It's in Louisiana, and it's right on the lake. So it's pretty nice. So I didn't want to like skip class or anything, because whenever the weather was beautiful, you can kind of, sometimes the professors would like take you out on campus and like, so you have class outside. So that was cool. Nice weather, you know, why not? Come on. What kind of music do you guys listen to? Rock? Heavy metal? Hip hop?
Have you got a wife?
Have I have a wife?
Yes.
No. No wife. No wife. We're still looking.
Then what kind of music do you like?
What kind of music do I like? I'm a huge Coldplay fan. I like Coldplay. I like Mumford and Sons, Pearl Jam, Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, Drake. I like it all, man. My first concert was, I like country music also. My first concert, I don't know if you all know who Kenny Rogers is. Again, you all may be a little bit too young for that, but.
And have you already heard Hungarian music?
I've heard a little. So I live in Budapest, and so you know, you go to the bars and there's live music. So yeah.
Do you like it?
I do like it. I do. Yeah. It's a little fast for me, but I'm getting it. Yeah.
What do you think about Hungary?
I'm sorry?
What do you think about Hungary?
I absolutely love it. You want to know why I love it? Because the first time I came here, it was 2010. I lived in a city called Pristina, Kosovo. So I had a friend that lived in Budapest. So she invited me to come out. And I came out, and I'm like, I'm coming back. And then lo and behold, I ended up getting a job at the embassy. But it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Why do you like Budapest so much? You said you are thrilled with Budapest.
I love the land. It's just the architecture, number one. And I just feel like, you know, the people are very, very nice. Now let me tell you really fast, and this may help you out. The places I've lived, Dhaka, Bangladesh, Southeast Asia, Kabul, Afghanistan, back to Washington, Pristina, Kosovo, back to Washington, Baghdad. So, just my track record, I hadn't been to the nicest places and the most safest places. So it's kind of nice to be able to walk outside my door and walk around. Nobody wants to kill me. You know? So it's kind of nice. But no, I mean, it's fantastic though. And I also think the people are pretty friendly. You know, I had some kids ask, you know, have any problems or anything, but no, I mean, you know, I walk down the street and people are like, hey man, what's up? Hey, what's up? You know? I once had somebody, I was in a bar and just waiting for some friends, and somebody some Hungarians were like, they thought I was by myself. So they, hey, let me get you a drink, come over and hang out with us. I'm like, oh, I'm good, you know. Yeah, so I mean, it's cool, you know, it's kind of nice to have that friendly atmosphere, because I'm from the South, and we're just kind of used to, you know, walking down the street and saying, hey, what's up, how are you? Yeah. More questions?
What do you think about Hungarian people?
What do I think about Hungarian people? Great, they're good. So when I first came here in 2010, my friend that was living here, she had all Hungarian friends. She's an American woman. And so she introduced me to her friends, and we just kept in touch over the years. Thank God for Facebook, right? And that's how we just stayed in touch. And so when I found out I was moving here, you know, of course I sent an email out and said, hey, guess what, I'm coming to Hungary. And they're like, no, you're not. I'm like, yeah, I'm moving there. And so, yeah, so we got a chance to hang out. And then, so what's good about that is I love being able to, like, I've got Hungarian friends now, and then they just, you know, put you more and more in touch with more Hungarians, and you learn more about the culture, right? Because other places I've been, unfortunately, you haven't been able to do that as much for obvious reasons.
Are you studying Hungarian?
Yes, so when I came from Baghdad, I had some time left over before I had to come out here. And so I was like, well, get me into a class. And we've got this thing called the FAST course, which is only for a couple of weeks. And we've got some people that do it for a year. God help me. It's hard. It's a hard language. However, so I did 5 weeks. So now y'all ready to laugh at me? Because I'm going to try and do numbers. But you got to help me out. All right? So, edge. All right? Needs. Notes. Kettle. I'm sorry. Kettle. Harem. Notes. Nates. Oat. Okay, I always have this problem. Hat. Hut. Hate. Haha. Note. Nose. Okay. Ferret. Key length. And is it tip?
Where have you been as a Marine?
Oh, as a Marine. So I'm a Hollywood Marine, by the way. So I went to boot camp in San Diego, California, right on the water. It's very nice. Unfortunately, the only time we went in the water is when we had to swim with a lot of gear, which I didn't like very much. From there, I went to Camp Hilton, which is kind of outside of San Diego. We call it Marine Combat Training. So I did that, and then from there I went to the East Coast, North Carolina, Jacksonville. And I didn't like that very much. So I was there for a couple months, and then went back to the West Coast. Stayed in the West Coast for a couple of years, and then, lucky for me, I got to move to Europe. So I went to Frankfurt, Germany, and so we covered Eastern Europe. So, you know, Sofia, Budapest, Bucharest, Athens, Moscow, St. Petersburg, Tirana, Albania, Kiev, and I'm forgetting some. I'm old. I'm just losing my memory. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You have one? Okay.
Do you like Hungarian food?
Yes. And listen, let me tell you, I'm a skinny guy, right? And I've had friends that come to visit me. And so one of my favorite things is goulash. And the food is so heavy here. And I'm like, how do these people stay like so slim, you know? But so I've had friends come out and visit. And they love the food, but they're like, there's no way I could live here because I'll be huge. So, yeah. Good. When I lived in Germany, I could speak a little bit of German. Just because I didn't spend a whole lot of time there, I was just kind of like in and out. Arabic, I can understand it a little bit, but that's about it. I grew up in a house, my family's Creole, so we spoke French. So as a kid, you kind of like, I don't know, you know, whatever, but my sister does, but I don't. She's a lot smarter than I am, though. So. But I'm trying to learn more and more Hungarian, which is very, very important. So, question?
And which towns have you visited in Hungary?
Okay, give me, which towns? I'm going to need some help on that one. Paige? Paige, is that right?
Yes.
Paige? Niche has So my plan is to go to Lake Balaton this summer. So yeah, I'm just waiting for the weather to get a little warmer.
What's the exact process of becoming a diplomat?
Good question. Sorry. The process. We have this exam called the Foreign Service Exam. So you go online, state.gov, you look at careers, and there's 5 cones that you can pick from. Anyway, you take this test, but prior to taking the test, there is like practice tests that you can take. It's a long, drawn-out process. You know, if you pass the test, the written part, then you move on to the orals, which is very difficult because they ask you like a series of questions. There's different exercises that you have to do. And believe it or not, most people don't get past that. You know, people have to do it several times before they get in. It took me 2 times to get in. I've heard people have taken the test 9 times before they got in. You have to get medical clearance, and you have to have a top secret clearance, which can be difficult and very drawn out. So the whole process takes about a year, maybe a little bit longer, so it just depends. If you're lucky, you can get in within 9 months. If you're not, you have to sit and wait. I'm sorry? In the beginning, yeah, because I'm just so used to like not being around. But now that I'm in a fantastic place, they come out to visit me. So it's a lot, you know, it's a lot easier. I've never had any visitors come out for obvious reasons. So I got here in September. I've had about 15 visitors so far. So more and more people are coming out. I had to put everything down on the calendar because I was starting to overlap. So yeah. So I'm bringing more people. So hungry. You're welcome.
What do you think about Hungarian culture?
I'm sorry?
What do you think about Hungarian culture?
I think it's very festive. So when I was learning Hungarian, the little bit that I did, in a short time, the instructor, you know, we had to watch like videos. It seemed like you guys were really big into music because she kept like showing like all these musicals, the food. You know, I went to a festival on Sunday. It was sort of like this folklore festival, and it's pretty amazing. So it's, I mean, it's neat to be able to go out and do stuff like that. I've gone to the opera a couple of times, so it's, you know, it's cool. It's cool to go out and experience that stuff, you know. Whereas, you know, when I was in other places, I wasn't able to do it, so I'm taking full advantage of it.
Maybe you could tell us some information about your time in Baghdad, which is, I think you said it was quite dangerous.
Sure. I slept a lot there. Okay. Baghdad. I got to Baghdad. When did I get to Baghdad? In 2012. And it was a lot different from, you know, early part of the 2000s. It was a little bit calmer. Prior to me getting there, they were getting rocketed a lot. Fortunately, when I was there, we didn't get rocketed that much. You know, it's a huge compound. It's a very busy compound. We didn't get a chance to go out as much just because it wasn't so much that it was dangerous. The fact was, it was just unpredictable because we didn't know, you know, if the bad guys were looking at us. We just didn't want to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. Compared to when I lived in Afghanistan, where we knew that, you know, the minute we left those gates, it was on. With Baghdad, it was sort of like hit or miss. But they were very strict about, you know, who got to go off campus. You had a small window of time to take care of your business, meet with officials, and get back to the compound. But it's a very, very dangerous place. But, you know, living on the compound, I mean, it was somewhat, and it's going to sound weird, me saying this, but it was somewhat of a normal life because it's almost like a college campus. Tons of people, but we had everything we wanted, right? I mean, we had 2 large pools, 1 outdoor, basketball court, a couple of gyms, and people got, you know, in those situations, people were very creative. So you had game night, you know, all these activities to do, so you were never bored. No one could ever say that they were bored there. And on Fridays and Saturdays, I would go out and work on my tan, play out by the pool. So, yeah.
Do you like traveling?
I do. It's great. It's fantastic. That's another thing. You know, if you can do it, there's a whole big world out there, right? You know, I've got friends in New Orleans, and for a while, no one would leave their block, right? The only places that these guys would go is to like Mississippi and Florida and Alabama. Really? I mean, come on. There's a big world out there, you know. Get on the plane and go. Check it out. So, I mean, it's nice to see not only my friends, but like other people, you know, get out and travel. That's the neat thing about my job, is that we do have the opportunity to live in different places. And then you come across people from all over the world in random places, right? And you're like, what brought you here? Oh, I just wanted to check it out, you know. I saw something on National Geographic that got my attention. I want to see it firsthand. So yeah, there's a big world out there, folks. There's a lot to see. A lot of good people out in the world. So I highly, highly encourage people to get out, if you can, to do it. And, I mean, you learn a lot of things about different cultures, right? Questions? Come on, who doesn't want a nice room with all the presidents? I'm sorry?
Which district do you live in?
I live in the 5th district. So like I'm kind of like in the heart of like all like touristy part, whatever, which is kind of, it's nice, but it's also nice to get away from that because I want to be with the people. I want to be with the locals, you know? So that's nice. Yeah. Walking distance to everything. Yeah. Do you get to Budapest a lot? You ever visit? It's a big city. You should check it out sometime. Who's been to the United States? Has anyone been to the United States? There's got to be one person.
My head teacher.
What?
My head teacher. Gabriel.
Okay. Okay. Good enough.
How long do you stay?
3 years. Yeah. 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 Typically we do 3 years at most.
Are you supposed to learn in Hungarian fluently during this time? No. We've got, some of my colleagues have done, you know, longer periods of learning a language. It just comes down to basically on what your job is. My job is to, I work very close to the ambassador and the deputy chief of mission. So my job is to pretty much take care of them. So even though I interact with a lot of Hungarians, but that's my primary job is to work with them.
Which city is your favorite?
And no, oh, come on. Come
In Europe.
on. I don't know. That's hard. I don't know. I like Dublin a lot. Just because they talk funny, you can make fun of them. You know, sort of reminds me of like New Yorkers. If I had to pick one, it would probably be Madrid. It's a really, really cool city. So, yeah.
And have you got a pet?
What's that?
Have you got a pet?
Oh, have an animal. Oh, no, I wish. I wish I had a dog. I would love to have a dog. I mean, and of course we can, you know, people bring their pets over. I would love to, but just because I travel so much, and I'll be a very, very bad dad. So, yeah, we don't want that. But, you know, if I was married, you know, have the wife take care of the dog. Yeah.
When did you decide to become a diplomat? So when you were in the school or in the army, and why did you decide?
You should be a journalist, you know that?
I'm just trying to raise a lot of questions.
Again, I was a kind of unusual kid. When I was growing up, we had a lot of politicians visit us, so it wasn't uncommon for like the governor or the mayor to be inside my house just because my folks backed a lot of politicians that were friends with them. So I knew as a kid that I would go into government, but I didn't know what role I would play. You know, I thought it'd be like an advisor or run campaigns. It just, you know, when I was in the Marine Corps, working inside an embassy, so I became friends with, you know, the diplomats there, and they just kind of instilled in me that, you know, you'll be really good at this, so you should do it. So later on, I just kind of went down that path and kind of did it, you know. But it was, I mean, it wasn't easy, don't get me wrong. It was not easy, but I tell you what, it's worth it. Because once you're in, forget about it, it's fantastic.
Yep.
What other countries would you like to travel?
I'm sorry?
What other countries would you like to travel?
What other countries? Like I said, I'm an old man, I can't hear. Let's see, I'm trying to think where I haven't been. Israel, I wouldn't mind. I want to, visit South Africa, Hong Kong. I mean, there's New Zealand. I mean, there's still a lot of places that are out there that I have not had a chance to see, but it's on my bucket list. So there's so many places out there, so little time. That's the problem. So hopefully we'll get to them. Any more questions? Oh, yeah. Shame on me. No, what are you telling me? So you just focus on your own.
Yes, and they know the citizens.
Gotcha. You know, there are a lot of places that are like that. But in New York, and I'm just going to name like the favorite cities, but New York, LA, Chicago, New Orleans, they're much more open and there's so many different cultures that are in these towns. But if you look at Middle America, then they kind of that comes into it, that South Bowl metaphor. I mean, because they're not used to outsiders coming in, and now they're not used to getting to know people outside of their little circle, which is sad, right? I mean, and again, that brings it back to this whole tolerance thing, this whole racist thing. Some folks, here's my thing on racism and on intolerance. It's the fear of the unknown. Because if you don't know something, you're going to kind of be, apprehensive. But then once you get to know it, I remember I was buying a car before I was moved back to California in Germany. And I never forget this. The sales guy was, this white guy, shaved head, had it up, right? So I'm thinking, oh God, he's a bad guy. I was kind of, standoffish. So a couple weeks later, I told, somebody I worked with, I'm like, you got to come back with me, because I'm not going to deal with this guy alone. I'm like, what's wrong? So I kind of tried to, laugh at me. So we went. Couldn't have been the nicest guy ever. Fear of the unknown, right? Open your eyes, just like, oh, this guy's all right, he's cool, not a big deal. But initially, and he didn't do anything to, threaten me or anything like that, or came across in a threatening manner. It was the appearance. That's when, you gotta get rid of your blinders, I suppose. Any other questions?
Final question.
Final question, I'm sorry. Sorry.
If you have something to learn.
Sure.
What did you exactly learn at university?
Criminal justice. Criminal justice and management. I worked undercover for a couple of years in the Marine Corps. And that was kind of by accident, because I looked very, very young back then. In fact, the only reason why I have a goatee, I had a beard last week, but the only reason why I grow this facial hair is because if I don't, I look very, very young. Then people think that I'm a kid. But yeah, criminal justice management. And And actually, I just got my MBA recently, and I did it while I was in a war zone. Again, you got a vision, something you want to do, you got a dream, you can do it. So, thank you all very much for taking the time and listening to me chat with you all. Thanks for the lovely questions. Follow your dreams, guys. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Steve, for this very interactive and interesting, exciting experience with you at this talk with you. I think it was a talk.
Yeah, that's what you guys do.
Lecture, so we were very glad to do that. And on behalf of both of the organizing schools, I would like to give you a token of our gratitude and please accept this as a gift.
Thank you very much. So we get a picture here? Thank you. Nice. Thank you. Thank you very much. All my friends back at the embassy, they're going to be jealous.